need to know that it's a legit shirt. So it goes along with my message, and we'll get to that. But before we get to that, we're going to turn to Matthew chapter 16, and we're going to go 13 through 17. If you don't have your Bibles, that's okay. We got the Sky Bible up here. Actually, 3 of them. You can look up here. Or if you don't trust our amazing tech team, you can then just go on maybe a Bible app if you didn't, or you should have just brought your Bible. Matthew 16, 13 through 17. It says, when Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? They replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah, or one of the other prophets. But what about you, he asked, talking to his disciples. Who do you say I am? Simon Peter answered. Of course, Simon Peter's first one to answer. Simon Peter answered, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah. For this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. So, I got to admit something to you guys. When it comes to math, I have a very complicated, to say the least, relationship with math. That is a nice way of saying not a big fan. Not a big fan of math. Never was. To this day. Like, the whole, having to, I'm okay, adding, but when you have to start subtracting, especially when it comes to your bank account, it's not fun. Just saying, not fun. I do not recommend it. Just add. Just do the adding part only with your bank account. Don't do the subtracting. Yeah, just ignore that part. But the worst part of it is when I got to high school. Because in high school, there was this thing called algebra and geometry. Now, these days, they do that stuff in elementary school. Like Kinsley came home last year, she was in 5th grade, with algebra. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the work of the devil. It is, I'm telling you. Like, who came up with algebra and geometry? Some evil man, I'll tell you that. That's right. I know that's the truth. Some just mad, evil genius, trying to take over the world. And they throw out words out there like, how are we supposed to know what these mean? Like, quadratic equations or isosceles triangles. What? It's a triangle's a triangle, guys. I'm just saying. Like, there's times when I see a rectangle and I call it a triangle. I'm just admitting that right now. Like, I see a rectangle, I call it a triangle. Like, I get those two confused sometimes. They sound a lot alike. Now you want to throw other crazy made-up words in front of triangles? Please. The devil. The devil. Right. And I was raised a good Christian boy, and I'm not going to have any of it. But it gets worse because, see, in algebra and geometry, every now and then, the teacher would say these words. You must show your work. No other words have been more from the pit of hell than those. The title of my message is Show Your Work. Show your work. And I hated it when the teacher would say that. And it's not, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking, Steve. You're like, oh, you're just lazy. You didn't want to do it. You didn't want to work it out. That's not it at all. It's, I had no idea how to do it. But here's the thing. Back then, I didn't need these. And boy, I had eyes like a hawk. And wherever I was sitting, I could see all the way to the front row, and those nerds sitting there that knew all the right answers, I could see their answers. Now, they did all the work. I couldn't read that. That was just crazy stuff. But I could see their answers. Listen, Stacy, I would be on like the 4th, 5th row and back, and these eyes, gift from God back then. Now I got to wear these, but I could see it. Yeah, like a hawk, boy. Woo, I'd get it. So, yeah, just being transparent here, yeah, I cheated. And I'd get those answers. I'd write them down, the ones that I saw. I'd turn it in. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Boy genius. But I don't know if they caught on. I don't know why, but then they started like, you must show your work. In other words, I'm about to ruin your entire life. I had no idea how to do it. Like, I couldn't get I didn't know how to do any kind of process. I didn't even know like any kind of educated guess. Listen, Leah, I might as well just wrote a big F on that paper, just turned it in, save us all the trouble. I don't know how to do it at all. Not planning on learning. F, I'll just wait for the next test when you say don't show your work. I mean, you don't want me back in this class again. I know that. Yeah, you'll see this one, then you won't have to show work anymore. So that's the title of my message. Show your work. Now I'm older, a little bit older, in a couple of years since high school. And I realized that, the teachers, they weren't necessarily being cruel. Some of them, yes. But they wanted, it was an important lesson, hey, the process is important. The process matters. So you remember that one time that Jesus is in Caesarea Philippi? You should, because we just read the verse. He's hanging out with his boys. They've got there. They're walking around. There's like a buzz. Around this time, there's a buzz around Jesus. Like people are talking. People are pointing. That's him. That's him. When he goes to speak at places, big crowds are gathering. People aren't really sure what to make of Jesus. He's performing miracles. People are bringing the sick to him. Amazing stuff's happening. And he's walking through Caesarea Philippi with his boys. And Caesarea Philippi was not a godly place. It was a place where they worshipped idols, all kind of idols, did all kind of different rituals. They weren't big fans of God, of Jehovah. So there was a buzz. And Jesus all of a sudden just stops. He looks at his disciples. He's like, hey, who does all these people? They keep showing up. Anytime I walk down the street, they're coming out. Anytime I go to speak, they're coming. Who do they say I am? And I can imagine his disciples were like, ooh, we don't want to make them mad. There's some stuff we can't repeat because we're, Jesus. And they're like, oh, well, some people say you're John the Baptist. And Jesus is like, nah, that's my cousin, bro. Like, some people say you're Elijah. And someone else, Bartholomew was like, oh, and some people say Jeremiah. Oh, okay, Bartholomew, calm down. You don't got to yell, shout. And then Jesus a little more serious tone to him. And he looks at them. He looks at them in their eyes, Chris, into the windows of their soul. And he says, who do you say I am? Just one thing to say, oh, yeah, I heard, yeah, my cousin Johnny says that, says that you're a good dancer, dog. Yeah. Yeah. Karen, Granny says that that used to be a race car driver, and just watch out if you see you behind the wheel. Like, it's one thing to give other people's input, but Jesus asked them, and it's a very important question. Who do you say I am? Because see, y'all been hanging around with me quite a bit at this point. You've seen some miracles. You've listened to my messages. Are you really picking up what I'm putting down, or are you just kind of going through the motion? Which I think that question is important to all of us today, because there's so many of us 2,000 years later still just going through the motions and don't really understand who Jesus is. Peter speaks up. Of course, it would be Peter. He says, "You're the Messiah. You're the Son of God." And Jesus is like, "Ding, ding, ding, ding. You got it right, Peter. Woo!" Confetti came down from heaven. They had balloons, popping balloons. No, okay, that part I just added in there. But Peter got it right. He's like, "Yeah, you're right." And then he says, the only way you would know that, the only way that was revealed to you is not because of something that you've figured out an equation from, but it had to come from my Father. He told you that. He revealed that to you. See, Jesus, it was important because he wanted to know, hey, is there other motives to this? Are you just following me so you feel important? Are you just following me so people look and say, "Oh, look there. There's Matthew. He's being taught by a rabbi," or are you in this for the long haul? See, this is, I can tell. Cece, I can tell you're a little confused. So I'm going to break it down this way. Jesus asking the disciples this was like the part of the relationship where when you're like courting somebody, dating somebody, and then just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they go, "So, where do you see this going?" And then, like, at that point, you can't be just like, "Oh, we're just hanging out. We're just going to, like, get to know each other. We're just like we've been getting to know each other for 7 years, okay, CC?" Like, yeah. It's like, it's about to get real. Make it or break it right now. Like, do you see this going somewhere? Do you really, you've been around me for a little bit? Do you really, Pee-wee, you've been around me for 4 years. Do you even know my middle name? It's Vernon. Just saying. That's right. Don't laugh, it's my dad's name. Sorry, Dad. Jeez, you guys are mean. See, he didn't want just some regurgitated answer from somebody else. He wanted to know. And he wasn't looking for validation. He wanted to know, hey, are you guys really getting this? Because this is the foundation of everything. Because it's not just what you say, but are you watching what I do? Like he's saying, he's not just saying, hey, who do you say I am? But he's also saying, do you understand what I'm doing? So you know what to do. So I'm going to ask you this question. You can answer it to yourself, or you can answer it out loud. But who do you say he is? And then here's the thing. Do your actions show who you say that he is? See, there's a lot of people, they define their walk with Jesus in different ways. They can say it. They can say, yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, I'm a good Christian. Yeah, I'm this and that. But then their actions don't show it. And people say it in different ways. I'm not saying that you need to walk into Walmart and go, "Hey, everybody, just got done from Farallon, and I want to tell you about Jesus." Now, if God directs you to do that, do it. Let me record it. But you ever seen, like, some people have these bumper stickers? You ever seen the bumper stickers? Like, this is like a classic one. Honk if you love Jesus. Honk if you love Jesus. Now, true story. I was a youth pastor in my early 20s. Let's just say, like, around maybe 22. I was in a good mood. I was, like, feeling good that morning. I was happy. And I got behind this car, and it had this bumper sticker, honk if you love Jesus. Normally, I wouldn't even pay attention, but I was like, oh, okay. And I just honked. I was like, honk, honk, yeah, woo. And then I drove by them. And that person made sure I knew I was number one. Patty Grace, that means they flicked me off. I'm sure you know that. They didn't really say I was number one. And I remember kind of chuckling a little bit, because like maybe they had a bad day. I don't know, but I was like, don't know that Jesus would do that. Like what? Like, but truth, that's a true story. Or then there's this one. Jesus is my co-pilot. And then, like the really progressive people is like, they were like, oh, we got a bumper sticker. Jesus is my pilot. Like, he's your co-pilot. Well, no, he's my pilot. He's directing me. I'm better than you. Like, and throw it on there. And we got those bumper stickers. And it's great. I'm not telling you to go rip your bumper stickers off. If you got them, great. But if you have them, make sure your actions follow what you're saying. Because they're going to speak louder than what that bumper sticker ever says. Right? So, Karen, I'm just saying, if you have honk, if you love Jesus, don't flick people off if they honk. If you ask them to honk. That's what you want. Right, yeah. Don't like, oh, yeah. So just let you know. Obviously, that lady forgot she even had that bumper sticker. And then some of us, we kind of define God. We don't actually say it because nobody would say it, but our prayers, even though they may not be the same wording, but it's stuff like this. Heavenly Father, will you be my sugar daddy? Will you give me a new car and a new house? Will you just make those people at Farallon behave? Would you please let Pastor Jimmy speak longer and tell more jokes? Would you just make my children behave? And my spouse too, or maybe just give me a new one. And we treat God like he's like some genie or like some cosmic Santa. And we go to him with this list of stuff that we want. Or we say, yeah, I'm a good Christian, I'm a good Christian, I'm a good Christian. And we want to throw those words around. And I think if we're honest, we'd all have been guilty of that. Bishop Arthur Moore, he was a bishop in the Methodist Church, and he loved to tell this story about a man that he had a home church in this little town, but he went away for a while and then came back home and came back to the church, and they were doing testimonies. It was testimony time at that church. And this man, he got up, and everybody knew like he had been involved with some shady practices and some criminal activity. But he got up and he said, I just want to tell you, church family is glad to be back home. Again, I know what you heard about me, and it's true. I beat my wife. I deserted my children. Yeah, I've lied. I've stolen. I've did all kind of manners of evil. I was in prison several times. But brothers and sisters, can I tell you, and I'm proud to say, not one of those times did I lose my religion. But a lot of times, like, that's how it is, because it's like, oh yeah, I go to church, or oh yeah, I read my Bible. Oh yeah, I can quote some scriptures. I can even say Jesus' name, or just say God bless you when somebody sneezes. But then our actions don't line up with what we're saying. And my question is, are we truly the extension of Jesus that we're called to be? Or is it just lip service? Because it's not just about words, it's about the action too. And yeah, I'll tell you right now, like, it's your deeds, you're not going to like do enough good things that gets you to heaven. That's from a relationship with Jesus. But if that's all you're worried about, okay. But you have more purpose than that. You are called to do more than that. You are supposed to be the light to people. You are supposed to be the extension to people. There's people that are in your life and in your circle that the only vision they'll ever see of Jesus is you. And if that vision is, hey, honk if you love Jesus, I'm having a bad day, not today. Catch me on Sunday, but you caught me on Tuesday, and Tuesday's not my day. So, whatever. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's what a Christian is supposed to be? That's what following Jesus is about? Well, shoot, I'm doing that now. I'm good. Is our actions matching our words? Because I'll tell you this, you can't declare love for Jesus in one breath and then spew hatred in the next, and it'd just be okay. How do we make others feel? So I have a pastor friend of mine. You say that, I don't have many pastor friends, but I got a pastor friend of mine, and he was telling me this story, and I thought it was a really cool story. He said that one time he went to lunch, he was just by himself, and he went to this diner that he typically don't go to. And he said what he noticed right away, there was this waitress that she wasn't rude, but you could tell like she had been a waitress a little too long. And she just kind of didn't care. She'd walk really slow. She wasn't in a hurry to bring out the food. She wasn't big on thank you and I hope to see you again. Just very short. Said then this couple came in with a 6-year-old kid, around 6 years old. And she came up and they took their order and they gave this long laundry list order to them like, oh, we want this, but change this. We want this, but make sure it's cooked like this. And oh, do you have anything that's gluten-free? Do you have this? Do you have that? Like, make sure it's like this. Make sure it's cut in half. Make sure it's in triangles. Make sure all this stuff. I want tea with no ice. Craziness. You got to have ice. And then she looked at the little boy and said, "And what would you like to have?" And that little boy's eyes lit up, and he said, with like. It was an emergency, like he was starving. He said, "I'll have a hot dog." And right as he got that out of his mouth, both of his parents at the same time said, no, he will have the ham, he will have double portions of the vegetables, and bring him out one of those hard rolls, and he'll have water to drink. And my friend said the waitress looked at the boy and said, "And what would you like on your hot dog?" And the boy goes, "Ketchup! I'd like ketchup." And the parents said, "Well, no, he's not going to have it." And the waitress walked away and said, "One hot dog coming right up." Now I know that story. You're like, well, that waitress is kind of like, wasn't right, The parents know better. But he said what happened next changed how he pastored, which I thought, right then it got my attention because I was like, well, I would think that like what changed how you pastored would be something like, in your prayer time or like in a huge like revival service or something, or like after hearing one of my sermons. I could totally get that. And he said that little boy looked at his parents and said, "That lady believes I'm real." And he said it just hit him in a way. And he's like, I started thinking, do I truly make people feel like they're real? Or do when they come to me with issues and come to me with problems, do I just give them some cookie cutter answer and give them the "I'll pray for you" and just move on? And he said, from that moment when I left that diner, I made a decision that anybody that comes to me, anybody that talks to me, I'm going to hear them out. I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to just blow them off, but I'm going to be a better listener. And he said, I want to make people feel how that waitress made that boy feel. I want to make people feel real. And it was inspiring. I was like, that's what I want too. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to tell that story. And he said, he goes, if you tell it, you better not put you in my spot and say you were at the diner. Because that's my story. I'm like, all right, I won't do that. But I don't know, I want to make people feel real. And Matthew 15:14-16 says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." We're supposed to be the light. I read a story just last night about a nobleman. He was in Europe and very wealthy, and he ended up coming to this town that they didn't have much, and he felt like, you know what, I'm going to build you guys a new church. Their church was falling apart. It was really unsafe to even go inside there, and he's like, I'm going to build it. He says, none of you are allowed to come inside and see the inside interior until I'm done. You could look at and people, as he was building it, they would line up and look at the outside of it, but when he moved to the inside, nobody was allowed inside. Then the day came. The church was finished. And they came into the building, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful. The workmanship was so perfect. They'd never seen anything like it. But then one person noticed. He said, oh, wait a minute, sir, I noticed that there's no lamps in here. I mean, I see there's places cut out in the wall where lamps go, but there's no lamps, and it's really kind of dark in here. And he said, yeah, I got that figured out too. He said, I got these lamps. I'm going to give one lamp to each family. And when you come to church, you're going to light that lamp and you're going to put it in its spot. But the days that you're missing, the days that you decide to stay home, the days that you're not here, that spot is going to stay dark. The only way it's going to light up is when you're present. And I thought that was amazing because I was like, that's the epitome of Fairlawn, because this isn't about just what one of us does. This is about all of us. And I'm just saying this. When you're missing, when you're not here, that light that you bring is missing from here. And I'm not saying, this isn't a guilt trip, and this isn't saying, oh yeah, we want you to be here and we want to make sure this is filled and all this stuff. No, truthfully, we are doing this together. This is a family thing. This is not an individual thing. This is a family thing. And as soon as this becomes an individual thing and it's just about me or Pastor Mark or one of our other pastors, I'm just telling you, I'm out. Because I signed up to do a family thing.
All right.
Are you letting your light shine to all those that are around you? Ask yourself, what kind of light do you bring? Because this might not be popular here, and this might not be what you want to hear, but if you're called to be a part of Fairlawn, I truly believe that you are called to be uncomfortable. Because there is a lot more comfortable churches than Fairlawn. There are churches that you can go to and you can just be like, all right, yeah, I got to do this, and then I'll go home and watch football, or go home and do this, or you know, I don't have to worry about anything, and they're not going to ask me to do anything. And yeah, there's plenty of churches like that. And if you walked in here today thinking, oh yeah, this is one of those churches, you're wrong. I'm sorry, but I do believe you're here for a reason. I'm going to finish with this, and Heath, if you could come up here and just play something beautiful and very spiritual, and that just, I mean, I know I've sounded good the whole time, but make it where it sounds better. This point of, just to note, this point of the message, Becky, this point of the message, I'm not going to tell any jokes. I don't want to disappoint him, but this is the serious point, Joanna. This is the serious point. I'm going to bring it home right here, okay? That's why I had Heath come up here and play. He helps me bring it home. All right. Don't let me down, Heath. That also means, for some of you, Diane, that it's almost over. I know, we still love Diane, even though she was wondering when it was going to be over. I'm sorry, no jokes. Tony Campola, he tells this story about a deacon at a church he attended, and I thought it was a cool story when I read it, because I was like, hey, we're in the middle of doing a deacon class and setting up our deacon team and everything. And this deacon, he was really trying to find his place. He for a little bit he thought, maybe I'll help out the youth pastor and I'll go in the youth, and then he found out what all of us parents find out: teenagers are crazy, and don't laugh, that's serious. It's true, so true. He's like, that's not for me, and he tried different things, and he's like, I can't stand for a long time, I can't, and he was just trying to find his place in the church. And then he went to the pastor and he said, right down the street there's this nursing home. And most of the people in that nursing home, they never get to leave. They don't get to come to church. And with your permission, I would like to go and start bringing church to them. And the pastor said, yeah, that would be awesome. And he got a little team together, got somebody to sing for worship. He wasn't a preacher, so he would get somebody to do like a little devotional or something. And he would just kind of stand in the back. He kind of put it all together. And as Tony was telling the story, he said that from day one, there was this old man in a wheelchair that never said anything. But as this deacon would stand in the back, this man would roll his wheelchair over to him. And he would reach out his hand and he would hold that deacon's hand the entire service at the nursing home. The deacon said at times he tried to talk to him. He would introduce himself, and he thought, well, maybe the guy just don't talk that much. I mean, he would say hi and stuff like that, but not really a conversation. He said after months of this going on, about 8 months into it, he got there one day, and they started doing the service, and he noticed that man was missing. They went through the whole service. He didn't come up. The first time ever, he didn't come up and hold his hand. 8 months of this happening. And he asked one of the workers there, he said, hey, the man that usually comes up and he holds my hand, where is he at? He wasn't here. And they said, oh, yeah, that's Jonathan, and he's really sick. We don't think he has much longer. And he's down in room 6. He's not talking to anybody. He's unconscious, but if you want to go down there, you can. The deacon, he walked down to room 6. He opened the door and he saw Johnny laying there on the bed. And he walked over to Johnny. He talked to him and said, hey Johnny, this is Deacon so-and-so, and I missed you today in service. And he saw his hand laying there, and he went to grab his hand to pray for him. And while he was praying for him, the man squeezed his hand as to acknowledge, yeah, you're here, and I know you're here. About that time, a nurse came around the corner and said, he's been waiting for you. I said, what do you mean he's been waiting for me? I said, yeah, he told me that he couldn't go yet. He couldn't die yet until he held Jesus' hand. And she goes, I'm a Christian. And I told him, I said, listen, if you can just let it go, you can just go, and you're going to be in Jesus' presence. He will hold your hand forever in heaven. And the man said, no, you don't understand. For 8 months, every Sunday afternoon, Jesus would come and he would hold my hand. Are you being the person that reflects the Jesus that you serve? Or are we just kind of going through the motions? Is it just all about lip service? Because right now, there's somebody in your life that you are the person that represents Jesus to them. How are you representing him? Because to somebody, you're the only Jesus that they're ever going to see, that they're ever going to experience. And how you treat them and how you treat others is going to be a reflection of how they see Jesus. Yeah, words are important, extremely important. But do your actions match the words? So my friends and family of Fairlawn Church, may you be the light that Jesus has called you to be. May you always show your work, and may your actions match your words. Grace and peace. I love you.